Hello, welcome again to FAIRtax Power Radio. I'm Bob Paxton.
And I'm Ron Malero.
And we are
the FAIRtax Guys.
Still doing our best to defund the IRS.
Because
taxpayers matter.
And that's us, folks.
That's you, that's me, that's everybody here, that the government gets their little grubby little paws into your pocket and tries to take all your money. And never underestimate the desire that politicians have for more and more and more of your money.
Oh yeah, because as we'll find out in a little while, there are over 2,000 proposals to change the tax code since the beginning of the 116th Congress.
Yes, that's why we need a tax system where you decide not only when you pay your taxes, but how much you pay.
That's right.
And that is what you get with a fair tax.
Yep.
So we need to get rid of the income tax, and we need to replace that with a fair tax. It gets rid of all kinds of nasty things like withholding and payroll taxes and tax returns and the IRS and audits. All of that goes away with a fair tax. So
yeah.
That works pretty good. But,
Life will be so much simpler without the income tax.
Yes, it will. As we're reaching the end of 2020, hallelujah. Mm-hmm. Actually, we got a little bit of a programming note here for FAIRtax Power Radio. We'll be taking a holiday break, a Christmas break. So for the next 2 weeks, the 22nd and the 29th, we kind of refer to Tuesday as our publication day. That's when these videos stream on Facebook. Of course, they're available other places at other times. But we'll be kind of going back into the archives and doing a best of. So this FAIRtax Power Radio show, which is airing for the first time on the 15th, is going to be our last basically live program for the year. We'll have best ofs for the next couple of weeks, and then we'll start again in the new year and hit the ground running and see if we can move whichever. We still don't know who the president is.
That's true.
There are still legal challenges going on, and as more time goes by, it looks more and more and more like Joe Biden is going to be the president, but that hasn't really been. Of course, it's not official till the Electoral College votes anyway.
Yeah.
But the thing is still being disputed. So whoever's in the office, we're still going to be here plugging away for the fair tax and trying to get folks to get the government to do what's good for us and not what's good for them.
Yeah.
And that works. But every time we get to the end of the year, the end of a year like that, it almost kind of like a year in review session becomes the order of the day. And of course, we cannot go at the end of the year without the 116th Congress Tax Proposal Hall of Shame.
Yeah,
you want to do that one first, or you want? Oh, okay. You want to do your grassroots corner?
Yeah, let's do the grassroots corner. Okay. Jim Bennett is a director with the AFFT, the Americans for Fair Taxation, the national group, and he is the grassroots director, among other things. And he does a report every week. Very often, he'll identify a particular volunteer and talk about what they're doing and their background and so forth. Well, this one is also kind of a summary of something he's been working on since January, and it's the book. He's talked about the book, Made to Stick, Why Some Ideas Take Hold and Others Come Unstuck, Arrow Books, 2007. And it's written by the Heath brothers, okay? And so what they did in this, and I don't want to spend too much time, they used the word success, and for each letter, S-U-C-C, they identified a particular concept. So S, the first S is simplicity. When you're bringing a new idea, keep it simple, all right? Then U is unexpected, C is concrete, the second C is credible, and the E is emotional, and the last one is stories. You can use stories to expand on the proposal you're making. Yeah. So anyways, I don't want to spend any more time. You can see this, all right? You can sign up to get these emails. They come out as an email every Friday by going to fairtax.org and signing up with them, all right? You won't get spam because you sign up with them. You give them your contact information, and you'll get the Grassroots Corner on Friday. You'll get Steve Hayes' chairman's report, and you'll get, on Tuesday, you'll get a brief email from the FAIRtax Guys talking about what's going to be on the show that day. So I encourage you to do that, and if you feel like it, you can give them a little donation too, because that's the only way they pay the bills.
That helps.
Yep. So
So, as we mentioned ago, the little congress.gov segment where we look at the most ridiculous and most intrusive, the worst of the worst proposals that the politicians are trying to put into the tax code. So I said, Ron, what we need to do, we need to come up with a year-end, hall of shame, stuff that the Congress critters are trying to do to us through the tax code. So I'll come up with a few, and you come up with a few, and let's just see what we come up with.
Yeah.
Now, these are not ranked in any particular order.
No.
This is just kind of, we went back through and we had 2,116 choices to pick from when we're trying to figure out what is going to qualify for the tax proposal hall of shame for the 116th Congress. And of course, my favorite one.
But we use the website congress.gov. And in the search bar, you put in quotes Internal Revenue Code, in quotes, and push the search button. So what I did was I told, because you can direct how these things are ordered. So I went to the date of introduction oldest first. So I went way back to the beginning, January 3rd of 2019, which was the day they were sworn in.
Well, I went through all 2,116 things, picking out the ones. And of course, my favorite one. I say this list is not ranked in order. Yeah. But I cannot, and I was kind of using two criteria, which ones I want to pick. One of them was, what the heck is that doing in the tax code? And the second one is, how dare the government try to tell me what I can do with my own money?
Yeah, that's right.
And so at the top of my list for the tax proposal hall of shame is, of course, the definition of municipal solid waste. Show me another country anywhere on the planet in which the tax code contains a definition of municipal solid waste. Why the heck? Well, I know why that's in the tax code. A tax break for people who handle that is in there someplace, so they got to define what it is. But it is the most absurd thought I can think of, why you would put the definition of municipal solid waste in the tax code. So that headlines my list for the tax proposal hall of shame for the entire Congress. That's 2 years worth, not just 1 year. All right, your turn. What you got?
Okay, well, I went to H.R. 1. Okay, now this is H.R. 1. This was submitted on the first day of the 116th Congress, January 3rd, 2019. The For the People Act of 2019. Now, what's interesting about this is all the committees that it went to. This will give you an idea of what's in this bill. I'm not going to read it, but it went to House Administration, it went to Intelligence, Permanent Select, Judiciary, Oversight and Reform, Science, Space and Technology, Education and Labor, Ways and Means, Financial Services, Ethics, and Homeland Security. It's got everything in there. They got a tax bill that's going to fix everything in the country.
Do they call that the kitchen sink bill?
That's probably more appropriate. Because and I don't even know what was in the bill. I mean, obviously it was what they call comprehensive bill. It contains everything. But obviously they wanted to use the tax code to address a whole bunch of issues. How about we use the tax code to collect revenue for the federal government?
Yeah, that's what it's designed for. And that's what the FAIRtax does. It doesn't mess with any of this other stuff.
I will note that this is not the worst of. This is the best of. Number 4 was H.R. 25, the FAIRtax Act of 2019.
So that one does not make the hall of shame.
That was the best one in there of the whole lot.
But this one does. S3577, a bill to amend the Internal Revenue Code of 1986. Again, this just caught my fancy the first time we saw it, to provide a tax exemption for distilled spirits used as hand sanitizer.
I remember that one.
No, that's just it. That was introduced way back in March, when the pandemic first started to hit. That goes under the never let a crisis go to waste. As soon as something pops up, we're going to throw something into the tax code to deal with it. That one makes the hall of shame. Your turn.
Okay, number 10, amend the Code for Marriage Equity Act. I forgot to put the HR number. Anyways. Okay, this bill amends the Internal Revenue Code, the Social Security Act, and other federal laws to replace references to wife and husband with references to spouse, and references to husband and wife or husband or wife with references to married couple or married person. So they're trying
politically correct jargon.
Yeah, politically correct jargon is getting into the tax code. All right. Is this really necessary to put in the tax code? Well, the tax code does involve, because married couples filing jointly, married couples filing separately, and so forth, and the tax, all that stuff is involved there. Another example of how the tax code interferes with our daily life, and we need to get rid of it.
Oh, yeah. And this is something that we actually mentioned on last week's congress.gov section, but this was a different bill. The one I found a couple of nights ago, H.R. 5883, to amend the Internal Revenue Code to provide for an increased credit for your, there it is, carbon oxide sequestration for direct air capture facilities and for other purposes. That, ladies and gentlemen, is a proposal for the tax code. And you explained what carbon oxide was last time, I think.
Well, there's two forms of carbon oxide. There's carbon dioxide, which we breathe out every time we exhale. All animals do. And the plants like it because they absorb it. All right?
Yes, and they turn that and they give off oxygen. And
so carbon dioxide is not poisonous. Carbon monoxide is.
Well, you'll get an increased credit for carbon oxide sequestration. How do you sequester carbon oxide from? What are they sequestering it from? The other gases in the atmosphere or whatever?
Smokestacks.
Who knows?
I think, they're trying to clean it. They're scrubbing the carbon oxide out. And they're not specific. I mean, which carbon oxide? Okay. So.
Well, that's another Hall of Shame entry for the 116th Congress.
Yeah. Okay, I've got one here. Rehabilitation of Historic Schools Act. And I was wondering, what has this got to do? Schools are, they're not taxable. Well,
you pay taxes to support them.
This bill allows rehabilitation expenditures for any building which is a qualified public educational facility to qualify for rehabilitation credit. I thought, well, schools don't pay taxes, A qualified public educational facility is a school facility that is part of a public elementary or secondary and is owned by a private for-profit corporation. So we have heard around the countries in various places where a private corporation has taken over education for a city or a county or something like that. So what they're trying to do is to get, since it's a private entity running the school, they're trying to get some tax credits for it.
Oh,
okay. Again, very involved. It shouldn't be that involved, and it is just another way that the tax code is reaching down into, in this case, the education of our children.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so shouldn't be that way.
Oh, mercy. Now, I've wrestled with myself over whether I wanted to include this next one in the Hall of Shame. I decided, let's go ahead and do it because to me, it doesn't make a whole lot of sense. H.R. 3367 to amend the Internal Revenue Code to allow a refundable credit. We talked a lot about those refundable credits. That's when you get all of it back, even if it's not offsetting anything.
In other words, a giveaway.
Yeah, but to allow a refundable credit with respect to any stillborn child of a taxpayer. And that's what kind of I really want to mess with this because, of course, in any family that has experienced a stillbirth like that is a trauma and a tragedy beyond description.
Yeah.
But why are we giving credits to stillborn children? I mean, it kind of makes sense, that you get a tax credit for a child that's going to cost you money to raise it.
Yeah.
But, again, I'm not if anybody has had this in their family, I'm certainly not trying to make any light of it or anything like that. But what's the purpose of a refundable credit with respect to a stillborn child?
Yeah, and it shows that.
Why is that in the tax code?
Exactly. Why is that in the tax code? Because people in Congress will try to use the tax code for any and all purposes. All right, whatever they deem a necessary issue, somehow they're going to find a way to address it with the tax code.
Yeah. And so, again, let's treat that one with the sensitivity that it deserves.
Yeah.
But I just thought that was crazy that you get a refundable tax credit for having a stillborn child.
All right,
let's move on.
yeah. This one is again, when you structure or order the proposals from the very beginning, January 3rd, 2019. This is number 15 on the list, and I've seen this as I went through them. I've seen this 3 or 4 other times. Presidential Tax Transparency Act. Oh, yeah. This bill requires the Internal Revenue Service to disclose and make publicly available tax returns and return information for certain candidates for President and Vice President of the United States. The requirement applies to tax returns and return information for the 10-year period before the individual becomes a candidate. First off...
Do you think that was targeted at any one specific person?
Yeah, well, I got a couple of comments on this. First off, let me remind everybody of the Bill of Rights, specifically Article 4, the right of the people to be secure in their persons, houses, papers, and effects against unreasonable searches and seizure shall not be violated. Okay, that's pretty darn clear, even though it was written over 200 years ago. The other thing is, why does it stop with the president and the vice president? Why doesn't it go to the next in line, which would be the Speaker of the House?
I think we know the answer to that.
So this is a terrible idea. Believe me, if they ever pass something like that, it's only a short step from, okay, well, we get the tax information about somebody running for president. How about running for Congress? How about running a major corporation? How about this guy because he wrote a letter to the editor that I don't like?
How about we let people's personal finances remain their own private business?
Yeah, exactly. Right. This is a stupid idea.
We got to move along here, or we're going to run out of time. But anyway, this is filed under the "What is the government doing? Telling me how I can spend my own money" criteria.
Yeah.
HR 7242, a bill to amend the Internal Revenue Code to permit expenditures from health savings accounts for gym memberships and the cost of home gym equipment, and to repeal the requirement that health plans be high deductible. So they're going to let you spend your money on gym equipment and gym memberships, but not bowling balls. That's no fun. That should not be in the tax code. I will spend my money on what I want to.
Yeah, I just bought some new clubs, and they're not tax deductible.
You're not. I thought the golf lobby was stronger than the bowling lobby, and you were going to. But that's and another one kind of along that, a bill to amend the Internal Revenue Code. This is S 3125 to allow for contributions to the Alzheimer's Research and Caregiving Trust Fund and for other purposes. Well, that's not the only charity out there. What if I want to give to somebody else? I don't get a break for that.
Yeah. I mean, that's a worthy cause, but why should that be any better than others?
I don't know. Cancer research. Cancer got my dad and my brother. I'd like to help that out, Yeah.
But,
okay, your turn again.
Okay. HR 177 to amend the Internal Revenue Code to provide. Now, this is the title. Okay, this is just the title. To amend the Internal Revenue Code of 1986 to provide for waivers of user fees imposed with respect to applications for reinstatement of tax-exempt status of small subsidiary tax-exempt organizations. No, I have no idea what that means.
You have to hire Steve Hayes to explain that one to you.
Well, here's a summary. This bill requires, 1, the reinstatement of tax-exempt status of a tax-exempt subsidiary organization of fewer than 50 members whose tax-exempt status was revoked due to the failure to file required tax returns or notices, and 2, a waiver of any user fee charged in connection with a reinstatement application. As a condition for reinstatement, the organization must file any required return. Yeah,
that's this little piece in the complexity of the tax code cube. That's what that's all about.
More power to you if you understand that, because I have to admit I don't. All right. Well, but I chose it because of its massive complexity.
Okay. Yeah, I got one more. We've spoken here on our Fair Tax Power Radio about the various proposals dealing with opportunity zones. Well, this is HR 5252 to amend the Internal Revenue Code of 1986 to repeal opportunity zones. That's what it says.
But the opportunity zones are working very well. And they're especially directed towards minority communities.
Yeah, that's Rashida Tlaib's bill to amend the Internal Revenue Code to repeal opportunity zones. No more said. That's it. That's all I'm going to deal with that.
Well, for one thing, as we've said before, if we had the fair tax, the entire country would be an opportunity zone.
Absolutely.
The whole of the United States
so you're
of America.
going to repeal the entire country. Jeez.
You've heard about this one before. H.R. 188. SALT deductibility. SALT stands for state and local taxes. This bill repeals the limitation on the individual tax deductions for certain state and local taxes, in parentheses, for tax years 2018 through 2025. The deduction for certain state and local taxes is currently limited to $10,000 per year for individuals, or $5,000 for married individuals filing a separate return. Okay. Now, this is the thing where the SALT, state and local taxes, the deductibility really favored some states that had very wealthy individuals, high incomes, expensive houses. Okay. The interest on their mortgages were deductible, and their mortgage payments were massive. So they got a big deduction on their income tax, and the taxes that they paid on those properties. Well, lo and behold, in the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act of 2017, it limited it. And so those people, they were cut off. You could deduct up to $10,000, and that's it.
All right.
Well, states like New York didn't like that because people started getting hammered with their taxes, and they were moving out.
Yep, I bet.
So
well, I tell you what,
they want Uncle Sam to fix that.
So that is our tax proposal Hall of Shame for the 116th Congress.
I've got a lot more here.
Yeah, I know. I had a few more. We've only got like 6 minutes left, and there's another little year-end review we'd like to get into. Of course, you do the Grassroots Corner every week on FAIRtax Power Radio. So I looked back at some of the things. And of course, again, this one is also not ranked in any order. We're not trying to say that any particular volunteer's efforts is more important or than anybody else's. But looking back at all the Grassroots Corner, my favorite one, of course, had to be the one on Bob Scarborough, the one who is helping us get the FAIRtax Power Radio show on several terrestrial radio stations. He got it off of WTOB, WAME, and WLSC, and so he is actively presenting behind the scenes to a good number of independently owned radio stations to pick up the program. And so Jim Bennett wrote about Bob Scarborough on November the 13th.
Yeah.
And a lot of little biographical information about where he's been. There's a nice picture there, WTOB microphone. But of course, he knows my brother. That's how he got a hold of us.
That turned out to be quite the coincidence.
Oh, yeah.
He went to school with your younger brother.
Yes, but the Grassroots Corner about Bob Scarborough is my #1 best one of the year. So.
Well, yeah, because Bob has been, we got some great volunteers. I'm going to mention another one here. But he is the guy who got us on got FAIRtax Power Radio on our first terrestrial radio station, WTOB, the station that Bob grew up listening to when he lived in Winston-Salem.
And he finally let me pull an air shift there. I'd always wanted to be one of their DJs.
Yep.
So
and he's got it on 2 other stations, one in Statesville, North Carolina, WAME.
AME.
Yep. And in Loris, South Carolina, and he's working on more. And I think we're going to see some more developments in 2021.
Okay, 4 minutes left. Go.
Okay, Rudy Tremmel. Now, right now, Rudy is recovering from major surgery, but he can still use his keyboard, okay? This was back in September 11th of this year, all right? Do you worry that your vital pharmaceuticals are coming from a country that does not have your back? And Rudy wrote a letter to the editor about bringing pharmaceuticals back from China, which everybody recognizes as being a very important issue, okay? And his letter was published in a couple of newspapers. So Jim did a Grassroots Corner on Rudy Tremmel. Rudy is here in Florida, He is a board member of the FFTEA, and he's been involved in the FAIRtax since longer than Bob and I. He's been at it since the beginning. He's been a board member since the beginning. Very active. Just never stops thinking of ideas to promote the FAIRtax.
Indeed. All right. Another one that really caught my eye was Doug Dash. In Collinswood, New Jersey. He said he undertook to contact the offices of Republican members of Congress who are FAIRtax co-sponsors and get them to lean on their colleagues who aren't. Peers can influence peers, and noted that that's how they got Marsha Blackburn on board with the FAIRtax. They brought it to her attention. Your colleagues are supporting the FAIRtax and you're not. Why not? And so she got on. So Doug Dash gets a special mention here in our FAIRtax Power Radio Year in Review, and we say we got about 2.5 minutes.
Well, there's one. I'm not sure which date it was, but I know he did win on Adam Yomtov.
Okay.
Who's in New York State. Adam, as you know, we call him the Energizer Bunny of the FAIRtax. He was, some of his duties have been taken over by the group that's managing the national database.
Well, he had plenty of duties to share with other people.
He was everywhere, in every issue we could think of. And the guy works full time and supports a family. I don't know where he found all the time. But Adam Yomtov, hats off to him, because he is so important to the national and some of our state groups because of his tireless efforts. And I wanted to make sure we recognized him.
All right. And we'll mention real quickly that if you know of anyone who is doing, above and beyond the call of duty efforts on behalf of the FAIRtax, let Jim Bennett know about them so we can tell the rest of the world. That's jim.bennett@fairtax.org. And now we got about a minute and a half to tell people to go to AFFT, go to fairtax.org, and sign up to become a member of AFFT. Join the 1040 Club if you can. That's where you would commit to $10.40 a month to help with what they got, like $10,000 a month worth of expenses.
Yeah.
Even when everybody working for them is a volunteer.
Yep,
so
that's right.
If we're going to get the FAIRtax, and we've been at this for 20 years. I mean, FAIRtax was first introduced in Congress in 1999, over 20 years ago, and we ain't going away, folks. We are going to keep at this until Congress listens to us and gets rid of that income tax and replaces it with a FAIRtax.
Yeah, and hopefully it won't be our daughters and our sons and daughters and grandchildren that have to take over for us. But
who knows?
Anyways, contact us, thefairtaxguys@gmail.com, okay? Or you can leave comments on our Facebook page, our YouTube pages. But there, if you've got something of interest, please let us know, because sometimes our listeners and our viewers become part of the program.
Indeed. And again, we'll be doing best of episodes for the next couple of weeks while we take a Christmas break.
Yep.
And would invite you to be back with us at the first of the year. We'll hit the ground running. We'll see what the Congress critters are going to try to do to us in this next Congress. But until then, Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, whatever your greeting of choice is. Again, I'm Bob Paxton.
And I'm Ron Malero.
The FAIRtax Guys reminding you that the FAIRtax is the only truly fair tax. And once you understand it,
you'll demand it.
So tell me how it works.
It's probably changed since the last time I saw it, but the short answer would be, you want to take this one?
Oh, sure. Okay. Imagine bringing home everything you make. You don't get taxed for saving or accumulating wealth, and your boss doesn't get taxed more even if he pays you more.
Wow, now see, that's amazing.
So the end result of all that is the cost of producing products and running a business goes down, so things cost less. And on top of all that, imagine every criminal, non-citizen, and under-the-table worker also paying taxes.
That's amazing.
That's the FAIRtax. We tax what you consume as you consume it, and that's it.